Nice.
Okay. All this computer stuff. Wow, look at this crowd this morning. Good morning. Welcome back to the Positive Living Center. Do I have anybody new here this morning who hasn't been here before that wants to raise your hand and be recognized? Don't be afraid.
We don't bite.
We don't bite. Well, welcome back everyone from Zoom and also from here physically with us. It is October 16th, right? I'm on the right day. This is the year 2022, which has been deemed the year of creating healthy lifestyles. Topics and themes for October are for the physical experience, for the mental significance, and for spiritual evolving. We've been hearing some good talks about this off and on so far this month, and I'm looking forward to hearing more speakers give us their opinions of these three themes. Patty Hummel's with us this morning. Good morning, Patty.
Good morning.
We are going to get comfortable at this moment to get ready for meditation. Before we start, I'll ask Patty to play a little for us to get us in the mood.
Actually, I'm just going to chant a little bit. This is a Buddhist chant. It's called Teyata. It is a chant for healing and to open our eyes to the duality that causes us to stumble. Teyata, 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 Om Bekkenzi, Bekkenzi, Maha Bekkenzi, Ratsut Samudatu Soha. Teyata, Om Bekkenzi, Bekkenzi, Maha Bekkenzi, Ratsut Samudatu Soha. Teyata, Om Bekkenzi, Bekkenzi, Maha Bekkenzi, Ratsut Samudatu Soha. Soha. Teyata, Om Bekkenzi, Bekkenzi, Maha Bekkenzi, Ratsut Samudatu Soha. Soha, Soha, Soha. Om.
Take time in this moment to go within. Let us know who and what we are this moment forward. Let us remember we are the light and the love of God's Spirit. Let us enjoy the experiences that we evolve as we evolve daily. We are significant. We do make a difference today and always forward. I give thanks for this, and so it is. Our musician is also our spiritual thought this morning.
I got double duty.
Yes, we'll pay you double. Patty Humble.
Thank you, Joe. Can you see me? Down more? How's that? Okay. All right. Can I see my notes? Let's check. Yes, I can see them.
I have to fix it.
Oh, okay. You go ahead. I'm fixing my notes. Okay, are we all lined up now? Good, good, good. So as Joe mentioned, we're continuing our quest for a healthy lifestyle this year. And as he mentioned, October's topics are for physical health, experience, for mental health, significance, and for spiritual health, evolving. Those are all pretty good ones. I've had fun with them. So moving on here. I wanted to share an experience I had earlier this month that I have just been dying to talk about. I've been dying to share this. As some of you know, I work at the Tenaya Lodge up the mountain there, and it's a popular destination for well-to-do people. It's kind of pricey, but we pride ourselves on our hospitality, and we treat VIPs with kid gloves and diligent respect for their privacy. And we do get our fair share of celebrities. And I've been lucky enough to actually catch a glimpse of a few of them. So I got a dish on this. Sorry, I just got a dish. Actor Mel Gibson. He's known as kind of a regular. You wouldn't recognize him because he's usually dressed quite casually, usually in flip-flops. He's frequently unshaven, and he's way shorter than you would think he would be. But he seems to take absolute delight in chatting up people who don't recognize him. And he just has so much fun. And I've seen him a number of times up there, and I watch him do this, and it just warms my heart because he has such a good time doing it. At least that was my experience. Another actor I met was Sir Ian McClellan. You might recognize him in a long robe, fraternizing with elves and hobbits on the movie screen. He played Gandalf. But on vacation with his partner, he was the epitome of charming, silly, gay British Shakespearean who captivated the whole hotel with his antics. He was so funny. At least that was my experience. Justin Bieber stayed there. He had a huge entourage. I couldn't tell you which one was him. They all looked alike. I also couldn't tell you what any of his songs are. I know he's a singer, but I don't really follow him. I can tell you that Chef Freddie described his dietary requirements as challenging. But that was Freddie's experience. So just this month, let me bring this down here. Tanaya hosted a silent meditation retreat. It was for the Chopra Center. Yeah, Deepak Chopra. I mean, the Deepak Chopra, and he was there. It was interesting because they had done it before, and the first time it was awkward. The front of house people were having a hard time because we were all told to just be quiet the whole time, be quiet, shh, 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 be quiet. And we weren't used to this because we were always yelling and screaming at each other. And it's like, quick, get those meals up front, and doing our hotel thing. But this time it went a little differently. And I ran into a few people that, I noticed they had his books on their desk. I was like, oh, you read Chopra? Which one do you have? And every single one of us was like, well, we're hoping maybe we can get to meet him and get his autograph. And I was genuinely surprised how many people had read Chopra. And I found myself making new friends. These are people that I knew all along. I had no idea they were interested in spirituality. Some of them have actually said, yeah, I heard about that positive living center. What, you go there? What happens there? So I talked a little bit about it, and I'm giving them all a chance to, possibly come and visit. Some said they're very interested, but it was my experience that more people than I thought were interested in spirituality. And a lot of us arranged our lunch breaks to coincide with when Deepak was speaking. The first time that I heard him speaking, he was talking about Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is some pretty heavy stuff that I've studied before. And everyone at the retreat seemed to know what he was talking about, but a lot of my friends didn't know what he was talking about. So I spent some time explaining yoga and the 8 limbs of yoga and who Patanjali was. And they're all, well, how do you know a lot about that stuff? And his second one, this one would have blown Bob Hand away. It was about the nature of consciousness. And it was very heavy. And everyone was like, Patty, what is he talking about? We read his book, but we don't, what is this? So I found myself in a unique position to explain what I knew about it. Not that I'm an expert, but I knew a bit. And it was my experience. It was my experience that a significant number of people are evolving. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Yes, we are seeing a lot more people having these spiritual experiences in their lives as we do evolve. Beautiful. And I think the same person has a song for us right now.
Yeah, just give me a second.
But she needs a second, so we'll just wait.
Just a second. No, I love this technology. Okay. Use the guitar for this one.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
Are we in your pocket again?
I can find her.
We need to hire a cameraman if there's anyone interested. The job is open.
Oh, that's what I didn't see. I read. Thank you.
There's a valley of darkness in my soul, where every night I hear the thunder roll, like the sound of a distant gun, over all the damage I have done. The shadows are filling up this land, are the ones I built with my own hand. There is no comfort from the cold of this valley of sorrow in my soul. There's a river of darkness in my blood, and through every year I feel the flood. There is no longer for me to cross, no way to bring back what is lost. Into the night it soon will sweep, down where my grievances I keep. But it won't wash away the years, or a single heart and bitter tear. And the rock of ages I have known is a weariness down in my bone. I used to ride it like a rolling stone, and now I carry it alone.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Beautiful song. Thank you. You know, if you get too good at this camera stuff, then they'll just keep you doing it. So I do it on purpose not to do well, because that's one more thing. They'll go, hey, let's ask Joe. You could become a victim of your own success. It's time for our main speaker. I'd like to bring up Mr. Reverend Bob Hand. Good morning, Bob.
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
I'm making no attempt to set this up. It's somebody else.
I
I
understand.
used to do that at work. They'd get a new copier and I do everything I could not to learn how to use it, because once you do, you have to make your own copies.
That's exactly right. Just play dumb, right?
That's it. Sometimes it doesn't take much playing. So usually I speak on the second Sunday, and I was out of town, so I want to thank LJ for taking it for me last week. And I understand that she actually gave my talk last week. And so I thought what I'd do is just have Joe replay it, and I'm going to lip sync it up here. We can't actually do, okay. Well,
I don't have that.
okay, I'll have to give it then. It may sound a little bit different coming from me than it, but it's basically that talk. So talking about evolution, and it's a fascinating concept that does divine spirit, do our very souls evolve, or are they eternally perfect? And one thing I think we do know, we can all agree on, is our concepts of God have evolved over the centuries. the anthropologists studying indigenous hunter-gatherer tribes that were still around for the last century or so believe that their religious beliefs were very much like early peoples were. And often the gods are more general. The god is a jungle, or it's a mountain, or it's a massive tree, and not really with a personality or anything, but just with special properties, special powers within that area. But as human societies evolved and changed, particularly getting chiefs or kings or queens, the gods evolved with them. And then so the gods became sort of kings in their own right. They became people that were more powerful. Even though they often, again, were limited. You had the god of thunder or the god of water or whatever, but still they were pretty much giant human beings. Although some were animals too, and some were combinations. You might have a man with the head of an elephant. Some of them, like Lumasu in ancient Assyria, I think they got a little carried away. That god had the lion's body and legs and the wings of an eagle and the head of a man. Sometimes you think maybe religious fervor had less to do with it than maybe the over fermenting of their crops. After a few strong bottles of wine, the gods start getting wilder. But mostly the gods were humans, and they had human feelings. The gods got mad, they got sad, they were happy, they were lonely, just like people were. And the gods looked like the people they were around. However their worshipers dressed, that's how the gods dressed. If it was an area with light-skinned people, the god had light skin. Dark-skinned people, the god had dark skin. The god had the eye color, the hair color, the facial features of the people that they were around. One example of that is Jesus, the Son of God, but because of the Holy Trinity, also God. And in the earliest murals and mosaics of Jesus that have been found, he looks pretty Middle Eastern, Jewish even, you would say. But as time changed, and in medieval and Renaissance Europe, the paintings of Jesus changed. And often Jesus is this chubby little baby who looks light-skinned, who looks European. He's there with Mary. They're dressed up in really nice clothes. I mean, you don't dress your God as a peasant. They're often in a very nice setting with maybe a castle or a mansion behind them. And then Jesus came to America, and he developed more until we had surfer Jesus. And now Jesus had blonde hair. I'm not sure if he dyed it or not. He had a very well-trimmed beard, blue eyes, a muscular body, in some cases a nice tan. I don't think I've seen Jesus with sunglasses, but that's probably coming next. Maybe God is a super chameleon that not only changes color, but he changes shape to look like the people that he's around. But God not only look like the people, he acts like the people do. But let me say first that the way God looks is probably based on the saying that Ludwig Andreas von Feuerbach said. He said, man created God in his image. Now, that's probably a saying you've heard. Many people have gone on to say that. But I wanted to tell you who originally said it, because I think it's so fun to say Ludwig Andreas von Feuerbach. But man didn't necessarily create God, but yes, we have created what God looks like. And in fact, divine spirit probably looks like nothing or everything. And yet it doesn't stop us from making God look the way we want him to. And as I said, God's acted like people. So the gods often live somewhere else. They might have lived on Mount Olympus or Valhalla or heaven, but those might have been very boring places. I don't know, because the gods tended to come down to earth a lot. And when they did, they wandered around and did the things people did. They fought, or they gambled, or they had sexual relationships with people, just like people did. And they not only acted in those ways. I've lost this. I told Jean that was going to happen. They not only acted in those ways. Well, no, I'm going to say they did. And not only the ancients, like the Greek gods and stuff, but Yahweh, the Jewish and later Christian God, was like that. In Genesis, it said, God walked through the garden in the cool of the day. He walked through the garden in the cool of the day. And when he didn't see Adam, he didn't know where he was. He had to yell out, Adam, where are you? I mean, this doesn't sound like some big, mysterious, all-powerful, all-knowing God. This sounds like one of the guys who's out for a stroll in the garden. And it is true, though, that over time, the gods became less human, more mysterious, although Yahweh, for several centuries, when he came to earth, he stopped roaming around and he only stayed in the room, the Holy of Holies, in the temple in Jerusalem. I suspect he had one of those long-term timeshare leases that he couldn't get out of. But in general, all of the gods became more mysterious, more powerful, although this wasn't just a straight line development. You didn't have just the gods starting as big human beings and then developing into this more abstract. There was variation in that, like among the Greeks. Although the Greeks had these very, very personalized gods, they also had a concept called nous, N-O-U-S. And nous was reasoning, it was logic, intelligence. And over time, that developed into a higher intelligence until almost 2,500 years ago, or just over that, actually, in about 500 BC, Anaxagoras, a Greek philosopher, came up with the idea that there is an ultimate higher nous, an ultimate higher logic and reasoning that designed the whole universe. It was this nous, this ultimate logic that makes a tree what it is, makes a river flow, even makes the gods be like they are. And so even back that far, there was this abstract concept, not unlike divine spirit. And so the gods, our views of them have obviously evolved, but it's not just humanity's views of God, it's our views of God, each of us personal views of God. How has that evolved over time? When you was a child, who was God? Was God this wonderful figure that sat by you and protected you? Or was God this mean guy who might throw you and your family into everlasting hell? I think of that children's prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I give the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I give the Lord my soul to take. How frightening is that for a child? Are you thinking that God's there sitting, just waiting for you to die, and he's going to snatch your soul? But for all of us, God evolved. Maybe God disappeared totally from your life at one point. Maybe God became like Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, a concept for children to make them feel better. For each one of us, our views of God have evolved. And I believe that every one of us has deep within us some view of divine spirit that guides us, that lets us see life as we want to and live it as we do. But that's our vision of God, our vision of divine spirit. Does divine spirit evolve? We see it as this infinite, eternal, everly perfect existence in this enigma, this mystery beyond our concept that's perfect and unchanging. And yet we see our souls as one with the divine, right? We are one with divine spirit. And so are our souls perfect and unchanging? Or do we grow our souls? Do we heal our souls? Did our souls break off from divine spirit and have some scar now that needs to grow and to heal? And so we tend to have this dual version of divine spirit and of our souls. And when I thought about that, I went back to that saying from the Tao Te Ching that I talked about before. Without passion, we see the deep mystery. With passion, we see its manifestation. But in their nature, they are both the same. How can the deep, perfect, eternal mystery be the same as the manifestation? We know the manifest world evolves. I mean, we know it started with energy. The energy created matter. It created complicated matter. It created life. It created consciousness. That is evolving. How is the deepest mystery of eternal divine spirit in the evolving manifest world in its nature the same? And I think if we look at science, we may get a clue to that. Again, I've talked about this before. I'm not going to go into detail. But as I've said, everything is energy and matter. And those are two completely different things. Light is a wave of light. Energy is a field spread out over space. Light is also a photon, one infinitely small piece of matter. Electricity. Electricity is a wave. You have an electric field. Electricity is also an electron, one point of matter. Those two things are totally incompatible, and yet the best science in the world, every experiment they've done, hundreds of experiments, shows that it is both of those things at the same time. And yet we never see both things at the same time. Why not? Because we see what we choose to see. If we set up a measurement that will measure energy, we will see light as energy. If we set up a measurement that will measure matter, we will see light as matter. We determine how we see the world. And I say we determine how we see divine spirit, that it is both eternal and unchanging, and at the same time evolving, and we choose at any second how we see it, how we experience it. And yet, I'm going to tell you, we have even more power than that. That's pretty powerful, to be able to experience divine spirit as we choose. But I think it's not easy to do, but I think we have an even greater power. And that is that power to experience divine spirit as it actually is, to experience it deep within us as both eternally perfect and yet changing and evolving. And when we can do that, when we can get ourselves to experience the ultimate reality of divine spirit, we are in harmony with the divine. And we not only have the divine light shine through us, we become the divine light and shine forth to help bring peace and harmony to the world. Thank you.
Wow. Gives you a lot to think about, doesn't it? I love the way he goes out all these directions and he brings it all together at the end, and it makes sense each and every time. Thank you, Reverend Bob. Fabulous. One thing I need to get back to that prayer you talked about when we were kids. I told my mom, I said, I'm not going to get down on my knees and say, if I should die before I wake, I'm not doing that. So I cut that part out. That's fabulous. It is our third Sunday of the month, which is our program for our healing service. I'd like to ask Reverend Luana to come up and give me a hand. And take us through this experience this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Oh, good folk.
Let me get you set up here.
Okay.
That's my job.
I invite anyone who would like to come up and stand in a circle to feel free to do so. You're welcome to stay seated. I'd like to put Gretchen and Bob in the middle of the circle.
Yes.
I invite everyone to toss a name into the circle of someone you are holding prayer for. You can do that now. It is so good to acknowledge God. As Mary Burmeister, a healer who did 6 days a week, 10 hours a day of healing, and said she was never exhausted because she did not do the work. Source does the work. It is so good to acknowledge Source doing the work as our divine designer, substance and essence, form and function, from the eternal and the infinite comes all that our lives need. It is so good to acknowledge God's activity as our very lives, as the divine designer of everything, our mental field, our spiritual isness, and our physical realizations and revelations. We are. God is always God being God. God is I am presence, God as I am presence individualizing itself as each of us now. If there is anything, any pain, any hurt, anything that doesn't feel like it is working in its divine perfection, we acknowledge now the right where it is. The whole, the complete, the full, the omni, the all in all is right where it is. I am grateful for God being God. I'm grateful for our opportunity to be each and every one of us, each of us individual, each of us unique, each of us as we choose to be. Gratefully, I release this prayer, trusting, knowing, accepting, allowing it to unfold in its perfect, divine order and flow, now and evermore. And so it is.
Let's take a few more minutes to just be. Thank you for Luana for guiding us through this time. Giving everyone a moment to give thanks, to think of loved ones who may need your thoughts and perhaps thoughts for yourselves. This healing moment. Thank you. It is time for our offertory. And could I ask a couple of people to come up and give me a hand with that? Here comes one. Oh, you might be on your own this morning, but I know you.
It's a small crowd.
You know how to handle it.
It's a small crowd.
Yes. Let's do our offertory statement together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and increases all that I give and all that I receive. Thank you, Bill. For those on Zoom, I believe you all know how to send your offertory that you give so graciously. You can donate through the regular mail at the Positive Living Center. And I know that Reverend Missy has that information for you. You can also go through the iFocus email that hopefully you're signed for. That Luana puts out weekly, where you can also donate there. Well done, my friend. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Patty. A few announcements. The Frog Box, which is at near the front doors to your left, there's a Frog Box there, and it's available for prayer requests. There are prayer slips of paper there and pen, and you can write out a prayer request. If you do that, I'll receive those, and I will put it out to our prayer team, which is all of our ministers and practitioners together praying for you. Also, I just wanted to mention to you, this is the Positive Living Center, which means, yes, we are here for everyone, whether you're in a good mood or not so good mood or struggling with something. I've had people come tell me, I'm sorry I didn't come last Sunday. I was just not in a good mood. I didn't want to bring everybody down. And I'm like, that's when you need to be here the most. That's when we want to see you. We want to lift you. We're here for good and bad throughout your experiences on this planet. So please remember that. And you can always reach a minister or a practitioner. Information is again on the iPhone. And you can, email, and you can reach out to any minister or practitioner that you'd like just talk to. We
It
are
should be
here.
on your iPhone too.
Yes,
Put it there.
yes. We're here for you. Okay. Any other announcements? Come on up there. We want to hear you. Good morning.
Into the mic.
Into the mic. That way they can hear you on Zoom.
Well, they're not here to see it. I've missed a few weeks due to other commitments, but you may have noticed there's some new art on the wall. And I want to mention that it's, well, there's still some of my pastel paintings, but the photography of Bill Flaherty, and he's the husband of Jenny Flaherty. And it will be up for a while, and do avail yourself to take a look at his amazing photography. And there's no labels on his work. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but if there's something that really strikes you, come talk to me or Jenny when she's here. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay. Our next week's speaker is me. I will see you next Sunday, and I look forward to talking with you. I'm not sure how I'm going to follow up after Bob's talk, but it's going to be interesting, I think. Let's do our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Energy of God is me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Thank you. Patty, you have another song for us?
Yeah. I do. This is called The Age of Miracles. And it is the Age of Miracles. The past comes upon you like smoke on the air. You can smell it and find yourself gone to a place that you live without worry or care. Isn't that where we all once came from? Greenland is melting, the West is on fire. And don't ever stop praying for rain. It's a curious place between hope and desire. Different gods, but the prayer is the same. It seems we're just standing still. One day we'll get up that hill. There's one all-knowing.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to ask Reverend Angelo to give us a closing prayer, please, if you would.
Join me in prayer. As we go within to the cosmic reality of the total love and joy, we are grateful for that divine presence that we are, incarnated life forms of God experiencing its creation in this human drama. We call forth that divine perfection right here and right now. We know that we are perfect health, divine guidance comes in through our life as we experience this human drama. We know that we are that presence, that living presence of the divine, and we accept this with gratitude. And join with me in prayer and say, and thank you. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have a fabulous week. We will see you next Sunday. You want to play a little something while everybody's. No? I don't know.